Hi there, what's up? In this video I'm going to focus on the game modes that really makes Battlefield 2042 grow and that I have kind of neglected. It's very much from the current perspective as of patch 4. I really want to emphasize the difference made by patch 4, which also is reflected in the player count. For the first time ever, steamcharts shows a positive trend for Battlefield 2042, and the numbers right now are actually the highest since early February. Now, this video isn't about how amazing or not patch 4 really is, but it does make a lot of difference in both how the game works and how the game works. It's not as broken as before, but there is also a lot of changes in how the specialist weapons and more behaves. So what does this have to do with Portal? Portal is only a remastered old Battlefield games for those goofy games like knives and defibrillators, right? Well, no, not at all actually. But before we continue, I have to do the mandatory YouTube voodoo thingy. If you like this video at all, make sure to subscribe to get more similar to it. Or actually, I'm not sure if I'm going to do more videos about Portal and stuff, but at least I do a lot of 2042 in general, like weapons and stuff. You can probably find some video in the top right corner now, I think, yeah? So let's get serious, shall we? What can Portal do that makes any difference at all? Apart from all the remastered maps with remastered characters, which actually are quite nice. In these clips I ran around in Bad Company 2 environment, I think, playing Rush. Much more fun than 2042 maps in Rush modes aside. And that's just the thing. The maps aren't necessarily better than in 2042, so this shouldn't deter you if you enjoy the 2042 maps. But they are certainly different, and for some purposes they are better suited, of course, since they were made for it. For instance, Rush. You see, there is this game mode where you can play old maps but with all settings as normal in 2042. Conquest on El Halaheim with near future tanks and bolties and choppers and AAs. And speaking about AA, how fun isn't it with a stationary AA in World War II style, racing those picky little nightbirds? Or what about some more modern maps, yet far older than 2042? This isn't perfect. While I played, I suffered some really annoying rubber banding, as you can see, but it was still fun. Really fun, actually. Gameplay was more like in the good old days, and since all elevated area wasn't designed for grappling hook, I could actually climb up and use Sandal's suit without being in a chopper first. So, if you're going to play with the specialists anyway, why not just play new Battlefield 2042 maps? I'm not just going to say it was better before, partly because I don't necessarily believe so, and partly because it's not perfectly anyway. But the old maps certainly has a different way to go, and maybe some players think differently as well. I can also have fun on the normal 2042 maps, but to be frank, they are getting a bit worn out. When I started 2042, the huge map of Orbital was quite interesting. Apart from being absolutely huge, it had quite a few different areas which required different types of gameplay. Or at least that was the original feeling. Some areas were more open, some were more close quarter, although none were really close, and some were more vertical. But as the full game unfolded, it soon became a bit apparent that basically it all looks the same. Same containers, same buildings, same types of maps in different landscapes, same lack of cover, same vertical thoughts about exposing players in objective areas, and so on. There have been a lot of nagging on the maps already, and DICE has already promised to make overhauls, making them more playable. I'm not going to dive very deeply into that rabbit hole, but rather than saying that even though the maps are very big and you can play them in fairly different locations, they are worn out. It's like only having 3 pairs of socks, regardless of how much you like them or not. They become quite dull after half a year, not to mention the wear starts to show. So starting at Portal, but with specialists and with full 2042 rule set, basically enable a whole new set of maps. In some perspectives, the maps have seen more love. Each map are more unique with arguably more details. Sure, El Alheim does contain rests from the Second World War that are too good of a shape to really feel realistic if set as 2042, but that doesn't really matter that much. It's a very different map. People plays it differently. One thought that I think a lot of players have had is why doesn't DICE redo old maps for 2042? Let's say Wake Island in Battlefield 1942, Battlefield Vietnam, Battlefield 2, Battlefield 2142, Battlefield Heroes, Battlefield Online, Battlefield 1943, Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 5. I think there are multiple reasons for not seeing any old maps in actual 2042 setting as of yet. So the most obvious is of course the time aspect. Time needed to actually complete such a map. The second possible argument is that old maps are reserved for Portal. The third argument is, well, I'm not sure what the argument there could be. Maybe someone thought it didn't fit the bill. Thing is, if Ripple Effect does a Portal version of the map, like Battle of Bot, how cool and fairly simple wouldn't it be if DICE simply changed details, making it into how it could look in 2042? I think that would be a win-win scenario. Fast track new maps for 2042 and get some variation into the game. Battlefield 2042 has been out there for something like half a year. With recent fixes, it's starting to shape up into a decent game, making it worth the experience. What it lacks now is new content. At least for those that has hang around for all these months. I mean, just to get some variation out there. Sure, we can visit Portal to play on other maps, and as I've been trying to say now for probably something like 10 minutes, please do so, it's so nice. But why not use the maps in rotation in normal 2042? I would prefer them all set in 2042 environment, but honestly, just having more maps in rotation is simply so nice. And only having real players instead of filling it with AI is so much nicer. For sure, that is a problem that might be a bit more disturbing if you are a content creator. Imagine having best flank of your life and you kill 10 bots. Not really a clip worth mentioning, right? Also, playing 16v16 turned out to be not that bad, at least not if on a reasonably sized map. With those words of wisdom, it's time for me to say goodbye for now. See you soon. Cheers.